In NFL news, Monday was a strange day for now former Lions cornerback Terrion Arnold. He brought in Harvey Steinberg to handle the pretrial detention hearing that determined whether or not he would be in custody through trial or be released on bond. Now, as of last night, he hadn't been released, but he is, once all the forms are filed and the money is transferred and the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, he will be released. He is on home confinement, but he's allowed to go to work. And as it was explained yesterday, Lions practices, Lions games, no ankle monitor. Prosecution wanted one. The judge reluctantly agreed not to require him to wear an ankle monitor. The judge said that he would essentially be on paparazzi watch, where if he doesn't show up for something, if he's late for practice, everybody will know, and then they can deal with it. So he won. Great morning, early afternoon, got the victory, released on bond once all the forms are filed and the money's paid. But then came what was unexpected, because once he was released on bond, the first thing I did was ask the NFL, is he going to be put on paid leave? And the NFL said, the matter's under review. I think what happened was this, because it would be naive to assume that the Lions and the NFL weren't in some degree of coordination on this. And if the Lions had gotten the inkling that the league was going to put him on the commissioner exempt list until the case is resolved, whenever the case may go to trial, and who knows how long it'll be until the case goes to trial, the Lions have to pay him. He continues to be part of the team. And we had a decision to make. Do we just want to cut the cord and move on? I think they knew paid leave was coming, and they decided, let's just release him. Now, he's got guaranteed salary under the terms of his contract. But remember, guaranteed doesn't mean fully and completely guaranteed under all circumstances. It's guaranteed for skill, injury, and cap. And as we learned 6 years ago when the Ravens released safety Earl Thomas, when he had a $10 million salary guarantee, they released him for personal conduct that adversely affected the team. That is a way around the full guarantee. We don't know how the release was communicated to Terrion Arnold, but that's a way to try to avoid the guarantees. And yes, he could file a grievance. Here's the problem with filing a grievance. He'd have to testify at some point. His lawyer would say, you're not going in and testifying. You're not going to go in there and give your side of the story. Anything you say there is going to be used against you in the criminal trial. And he'd be aggressively cross-examined by Lions lawyers if he tried to fight this. That transcript would be directly admissible in the criminal case. So I won't be surprised if we find out the Lions released him for the same reason the Ravens released Earl Thomas 6 years ago. Personal conduct that adversely affects the team. No pay this year, no pay next year. I think it would be very difficult to take back half of his $7.5 million or so in signing bonus money, because it's paid out at the outset. It covers 4 years. It's earned 25% at a time. And there's language in the CBA where if you engage in certain behavior, you've forfeited that signing bonus money and the team can go get it. And this is the franchise that pursued signing bonus money from Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson when they retired. They wouldn't hesitate to take back signing bonus money from Terrion Arnold if they could. I think it's going to be difficult to do it. Doesn't stop them from trying, but I think it's going to be very difficult for them to do it. And maybe the middle ground was, we're gonna cut him. We're going to take the position we don't owe him, and we're not going to pursue his signing bonus money. And frankly, that could be the way any potential grievance is settled if they did cut him under the designation that would get around his guarantee. And frankly, that's what I would have done. That's what I would have advised. Once you think it all through, this is the way to do it. Because if you could threaten to try to get the signing bonus money on top of cutting off the ongoing pay, and then you offer to him, hey, we won't try to take back the signing bonus money if you agree that you're not going to get paid anything more over the next 2 years, that would seem to be a fair outcome. And remember this. If Terrion Arnold had started his career like Sauce Gardner did with the Jets as a first-round pick, all-pro each of his first 2 years, they wouldn't have cut him yesterday. They would have found a way to work with Terrion Arnold, to let this play out. to trumpet concepts like innocent until proven guilty and guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And he deserves his day in court like anyone else. And we're going to wait and monitor this situation while the legal developments unfold. That's the double standard that applies in every sport at every level. And we know that by now. I'm not criticizing the Lions. I'm commenting on the reality. Excuses are made for the stars. Examples are made of the scrubs. And as I said last night at PFT, Arnold isn't exactly a scrub, but he hasn't lived up to his status as the 24th overall pick in the 2024 draft. He hasn't been good enough. If he'd been great his first 2 seasons, the Lions wouldn't have cut him. No way. That's always one of the factors. How good is this player? Because how good the player is becomes a factor in what you're willing to tolerate. And I think that also leads to a very strong likelihood that Terrion Arnold will not be employed by anyone until his criminal case is resolved, however it's resolved. Now, if he's convicted at trial, it doesn't matter. He's going to be serving time, and he wouldn't be eligible to play until at some point after the sentence concludes. He's facing technically up to life in prison, but we know how that goes. The sentence that you hear and the sentence that ultimately is imposed, 2 very different things altogether. But if he's convicted, it'll delay his career indefinitely. If he's acquitted, he'll be free to come back. Will he come back at that point? Depends on how long it takes to get him cleared. Then there's that possibility that there'll be a guilty plea, maybe a short sentence. Who knows? But I think no one's touching him until the criminal case is over. Because I think if anyone would, the league's first step would be to put him on paid leave. That's the flaw with paid leave. If you're a really good player, the team will go ahead and continue to pay you while the court process plays out. If you're not, and if there's any way around any lingering guarantees, you're gone. And you're untouchable at that point. You're unemployable. No one is going to hire Terrion Arnold with this cloud hanging over him. And look, his representatives put out another statement yesterday. There was a version that was released before the Lions cut him. There was a revision afterward. It didn't address the Lions' decision to let him go. I asked the PR representative, do you want to give me a different one now that he's been cut? Do you want to comment on him being cut? But there's a very, very strong belief coming from Terrion Arnold's camp that he did nothing wrong. And Harvey Steinberg will put the government through the paces. Harvey Steinberg is a guy who has represented a lot of NFL figures. We had a list of all the different, not all of them, just some of them, some of the big names he's represented over the years. And I watched some of the pretrial detention hearing yesterday, which was very, very dry stuff. You can tell when a lawyer's really good because when the lawyer starts doing his thing, there's just something different about the way the questions are asked, about the way that the lawyer carries himself, about just the overall presence, just everything. It's not a tangible thing per se. You can just sense it. You can sense it. And I'll give you an example. The Stephon Diggs case from a couple of months ago, none of the lawyers, none of them had that. Just that presence, that people are going to be more inclined to pay attention to what this person says. Harvey Steinberg has that. And that's the guy who's going to be fighting the prosecution every step of the way and forcing them. He said years ago in an interview, his job is to make sure the system acts the way it's supposed to. And I respect that. Look, the entire system is built to ensure that an innocent person doesn't become wrongfully incarcerated. Now, we know that many are, but the system, the protections are there where if you have competent counsel, you can test the system and you can hold the prosecution's feet to the fire at every step of the way, with the ultimate fallback being guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. All you got to do is establish reasonable doubt. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. That's all it took. A mountain of evidence proving that O.J. Simpson had committed double murder. Beyond any doubt. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. One moment. One moment. And that's that. So Terrion Arnold is entitled to hire counsel who is entitled to fight this every step of the way. And he could be acquitted at trial. The prosecution may have bitten off more than they can chew on this one. We'll find out. I think one of the keys will be how many of the other defendants will plead guilty and then cooperate. But the problem with that is, and in the portion of the pretrial detention hearing that I saw yesterday, this was clear. Everybody who did a deal had something to gain, which is necessarily going to hurt their credibility when it's time to testify to the jury about Terrion Arnold's involvement. And all those folks are going to be cross-examined aggressively by Harvey Steinberg. So, long way to go, but I'm comfortable in predicting that Terrion Arnold will not be playing for any NFL team until that case is resolved, however it is resolved. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.